Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Yay, indeed, Jimmy. Yay, indeed. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmy Wissman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today on another wild, crazy edition of Crime and Sports as we live on with Crime and Sports. And God, do we have some fun, crazy-ass episodes ahead for you. It's so much fun planning these episodes now because there's a freedom to it where it's not, you know, I don't have to, that person doesn't have a 3-hour story. It doesn't matter. It's crazy, and let's do it. So that's what's so much fun. And we're going to have something even crazier this week. We have a lady wrestler this week.
Hey!
So very few of those that we've had to talk about. And Sunny was a manager. She wasn't really a worker. This is an actual old-timey, tough, broad worker. So this is going to be fun stuff. Quickly, before we get to that, just want to tell you to head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now. Get your tickets for the shows are coming up. Live shows. We're hitting the road in 2023 with Small Town Murder. So February 10th in Cleveland, that is almost sold out. February 11th in St. Louis might be sold out right now. We have in March, we have Portland and Seattle. Those shows appear to be sold out. So we're adding new shows there. We added another night in Seattle, another show in Portland. So those are going to be for sale. I believe on the 13th, those go for sale.
That's going to be a weekend.
January 13th. Oh, that's going to kill us. Yeah, that's a long one. Long flights for me, too. That's a, boy, kind of a day. So that's going to be a lot of fun, though. Check those out. The rest of the dates are going to go on sale very soon. We'll tell you all about that. And also, Detroit and Pittsburgh are also on sale right now, and they're selling well, too. So get in there. Thank you for getting those tickets. Also, patreon.com. /Crime and Sports is where you get all of the bonus material. Anybody $5 a month or above. A cup of coffee.
It's
the
so
price
cheap.
of a cup of coffee will get you so much stuff, like 150 plus back episodes of the bonus stuff, just stuff you've never heard before to binge on, and then new episodes every other week. Especially this last week, we just did this Nazis on drugs one, and we had such an amazing reaction to that. Don't worry, there'll be more Nazi stuff. I have plenty of ammo to make fun of the Nazis for. This week, what we're going to talk about for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about the history and how it's become the biggest thing in the world of fantasy sports. We're going to talk
my God.
Yes, we're going to talk about how the whole thing started and what it's become, basically the reason the NFL exists at this point.
Right.
The reason people, I don't care if he doesn't remember his wife's name. He is starting this week on my team, and I am in the semifinals. And this is work shit. They'll talk shit for a whole year if I lose. So fuck that. Get his ass in the goddamn game. That's what's
questionable, and they're just refreshing all day.
That's all day. So that's going to be fun. And then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about something very fun here. This guy's a lunatic. Kai, the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker.
Oh, God, I love him.
I knew you'd know this guy. Okay.
I can't wait.
Do you know his whole story?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, yeah, this is a guy who did one of the craziest interviews ever on television where he talked 3 minutes after killing a man with a fucking hatchet, where he describes how it went down. And then 3 weeks later, something even crazier happened. He went from national hero to murderer in less than a month. It was the quickest rise and fall ever.
We should have known.
We'll talk all about him. And that's patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all of that. And, of course, a shout out at the end of the show as well. And we would like to announce this week, we announced it on the Small Town Murder Express, but we'd like to announce our new show, which will be coming out looking at the end of February, beginning of March. We'll have an exact date for you soon. But we're doing a new show. It is all about people's terrible reviews of things. It is called Your Stupid Opinions. That's the name of the show. And we're going to talk all about, we've done it, if you have our Patreon, you've heard our bonus episode, and we'll release one into the stream here so you can hear what it's all about. But this can be anything. People, the internet is all reviews. So this can be anything from a cross-stitching class in Odessa, Texas, to the diner at the Newark airport, to a sleazy motel in rural Missouri. We cover it all, man. It's going to be crazy stuff. And wow, do we like to pick those reviews apart. They're so much fun. So check that out.
Just a peek into the human psyche. I love it.
Oh, it's amazing. So keep an eye out for that. Your Stupid Opinion starting very, very soon. Cannot wait. That said, I think it's time to get into it this week.
Let's do it.
Let's do this with somebody completely different. Like, I don't think we've ever had... I'm trying to think, have we had a woman wrestler? Not Sunny.
No.
An actual worker. I don't think we have. This is a first here. And there's a couple more to come. There's, of course, there's a Mexican woman who's a serial killer in the end.
Oh, yeah,
turns out to be. There's
as soon
that
as we
one.
started this, we've heard about her for
So
years.
eventually, we'll cover that one. But we haven't because other people have, and it's just like, I don't know, we get into other shit. So, and then there's another one that I didn't know about who turned out to have killed, who turned out to be like in a gang and ended up like being like the leader of some gang who murdered many people. And I was like, holy shit, she was a wrestler for years.
For the right amount of money, Sally would have wrestled you.
Sally would wrestle anybody for the right amount of money. That's true. Sally McNeil did do like weird apartment photo wrestling, which a lot of the girls did back in the 50s and 60s. So that's or 70s. So that's normal.
It's a little different wrestling, and it's kind of there's an element of sex involved there. But
usually when the two women work in the ring, usually at the end neither of them come, and that's the difference I think with the other one. What Sally was doing,
nobody's clit is stomped with high heels.
Yeah, what Sally would do is she would squeeze your head between her thighs till your jizz popped out. That's how that would work. So she did a different type of wrestling. This is an actual worker. She did all the circuits here. Her name is Evelyn. Well, she went by Evelyn Stevens. That's her wrestling name. Okay,
that's not a good name.
Evelyn Stevens. Well, she started in 1961, so a different time.
Okay, where you went by your name.
Yeah, that's not her real name, but that's her name. I don't actually know what her birth name is. It's really hard to find because she ends up going by, in all of her legal documents, she goes by her two married names. She hyphenates both of like her ex-husband and her new husband's married name. So that's
that's not how that works.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that before. That's the crazy shit. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Okay. I've heard of women, and a lot of women do this just in terms of it's easier to not change your name back to your maiden name. A lot of women for a long time will keep their husband's names if they had their married name. If they had a married name, they'll just keep that because it's easier than going through the whole process of the paperwork.
Until they get married again, then they'll change it. Right.
Then they'll change it to that or their maiden name or whatever the fuck they want. But usually they don't just tack the new name onto the ex-husband's name. She's just making a collection of names. Like, if she's married 3-4 more times, this could go on indefinitely, right?
That's like a serial killer keeping the earrings. That's bizarre.
Yeah, that's what that is. Or making their name all of their names afterwards. Yeah. Hi, I'm
Dennis
Ted Bob
Rader
Bill.
Otero.
It's all their names.
Dennis Rader, Otero, Fox.
Yeah, just go all of those things. Nice to meet you. Who dropped the Raider, though? Just take all of their names.
Yeah,
like you married them all. Dennis Otero, Fox. Fucking, you can go through the whole list. Yeah. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Dahmer would have been, forget about it.
God,
too long.
That would have been crazy.
John Wayne Gacy, how many names can you have? So this is great. That's what I mean. We haven't even got to anything about her life. We were talking about her name, and already we're like, what is going on in this fucking story? Why would you do that?
Nobody told her that's not how it's done?
I don't know. Why you had to go somewhere to have that other name put on.
Right.
Yet not take just tack it on. No, keep that name. Yeah, I'm going to keep that.
My sister she kept her ex-husband's last, but it's just because she hasn't changed it back.
Yeah.
But I imagine if she got married again, she'd take that. She wouldn't do.
Right?
It's so funny.
She wouldn't just add another name, right? That's crazy.
It's so funny.
I could see more keeping the name that she has now and just not changing it to the new name more than adding the fucking name onto it. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. So
that's not giving up on it, right? That's hoping that it comes back.
But you're married. It's wild. So
you've moved on.
That's her, and it's her legal fucking name in the court document. So it's definitely how she did it. Evelyn Jardine Regal, Riegle.
Oh, that's why, because that's cool
Reigel.
as shit.
Evelyn Jardine Reigel. Now, Jardine is because she's married to a wrestler. That's his last name. She was married to another wrestler, Don Jardine. And so, would you say Keith?
Yeah, I was just guessing.
Oh, yeah, it's like Keith Jardine sounds like a country singer, doesn't it? It does. You hear Keith Jardine's newest album? Yeah, it's pretty good. He was caught out in public saying the N-word, but, you can't say nothing about that Keith Jardine music, boy, I tell you what.
But now his albums are selling hotter than ever. It's crazy.
Hotter, yeah, it's crazy. So Evelyn Jardine Regal goes by Evelyn Stevens. We do know she's born in 1944. We have that. Or 43, either one. It depends. That's what we know. Names, dates.
Swallowed water.
Yeah. Names, dates. It's all pretty relative in wrestling. You know what I mean?
Amazing. She is she's a party already.
Oh, she's a party. She is, let's just say, these ladies back then, to describe wrestling, they were tough broads. That's the best way to put it. That's the way they describe themselves. Tough fuck. These are the type of women that three of these ladies, and they weren't like, nowadays there's different types of lady wrestlers. You have your college athlete types that are just like stacked and you could tell they're athletes. They've been doing athletic shit their whole life. You have those. You have kind of the of the last 20 years, like the diva class who have lip fillers and fake tits and all that kind of shit. And they're, you know what I mean? They're like, they're like action
lemons.
They're like action Barbie dolls. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they do. They and some of the girls can work. I'm not saying that, but I mean, the look of them
I'm not saying anything away from their athleticism.
That's what they're trying to. That's what the company's trying to put out, and they encourage these girls to look that way. And then you have your bigger girls and the strength girls, and like that. And they're amazing workers, and they're tough. They are. They're all really tough, and you wouldn't want to. I mean, they'll kick our asses. Don't get me wrong. Some 220-pound chick in wrestling would fuck us up. I'm not saying they wouldn't. We're not saying that at all. But these ladies were like, three of these ladies could go into a West Texas bar and clear that motherfucker out physically. That type of tough. Break a beer bottle on a fucking bar top and stab somebody tough.
You can see them on Harley, but you'll never see them on the back of one.
No.
Those kind of chicks.
These chicks were no fucking joke. They're all seriously tough. They'll kick a man's ass. I mean, there's no doubt about it. A lot of these ladies who were married to wrestlers, there's a lot of stories like that dude wasn't afraid of anybody but his fucking wife. His wife was terrifying. She'd kick your ass. And seriously, she would beat it. Like Ray Stevens, they always said that. His wife would kick his ass. She was a wrestler. Barbarian, they said his wife, Barbarian. Remember him? Remember Warlord and Barbarian? And
were they the ones that were in Stay Tuned?
I don't remember. Barbarian was in WCW too, like in the Monday Nitro days. He was teamed with Meng. It was Meng and Barbarian. They were just.
I remember the name.
He's a huge, terrifying man who's known as a very tough Samoan dude. And they said his wife would beat his fucking ass on a regular basis. That's how tough she was. With him,
that's why he's tough.
With him fighting back, like she was just a bad bitch and nobody would fuck with her. And like. So that's the type of women we're talking about here. And they're not big women back then either. These aren't big, giant ladies. These are, 5'5", 5'6", 140, 150 pounds and could fuck you up.
Like the ladies from Glow.
Yeah, except tough. They're not, they're really tough. They're, they got a six-pack of Lone Star in their fucking purse. That's what they have. They're not messing around for the car ride home.
God, I loved that. I loved Glow so much.
Oh, I did too when I was little.
All the time.
Me too. I watched any wrestling when I could.
I don't remember any of their names, but I was just fascinated by maybe.
It's terrible wrestling too.
It's bad wrestling, yeah.
But it was tough. Of course it was. It was tough. Some of them were hot. They were like, they were Wrestling? I don't know. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah.
Some of them were stretching the word gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Well, yeah. I mean, this, it's wrestling, so you take that, but
very, very gratuitous word there, but all right.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna judge.
Certainly a lady. All right.
Some of them, yeah. Have you seen like there's documentaries on Glow? It's interesting.
Is there?
Yeah. Oh, you should watch them.
I've got to watch
documentaries, and the series was actually pretty good. The Glow series.
I didn't watch the series.
It's good.
I did see it. Was it on Netflix or Hulu or whatever it was?
Netflix, I think. It's really the first season's really good. The second season, it's not really about wrestling anymore. It's about it's more
acting.
No, well, the first season is like they're making the company, and it's loosely based on Glow and that sort of shit. And it's they're making the company. It's very interesting. And then the second season, it's just like a workplace drama, where they're just like catfighting. It's not good.
Turn into Grey's Anatomy of wrestling. I don't want that.
Yeah, then they still have like jokes in it and stuff, but it's just not as good the second season at all.
I just want all documentaries. I don't want to stop remaking things.
I don't want to know based on.
Just give me the documentary.
Documentary or make up a new story.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Everything doesn't have to be a true story that I've already heard of. But no,
it doesn't.
You know how it is. These companies won't take any chances. You know that how it is.
Yeah.
I mean, just based on us, we know how in this industry it's they're interested in you for what following you have because it's not about making a following because that's a risk of money. Why would you do that?
Right.
So then they wonder why
they want the guarantee and they want the awards.
Yeah.
What? You don't get that.
They wonder why the TV and film industry is falling apart.
Right.
Haven't had an original idea in 20 fucking years, but why is it falling apart?
Risk.
We made Iron Man 7. I don't understand what the problem is. What's the problem?
Vin Diesel's still alive. We're making Furious 19.
Yeah. We're making Aquaman 12. I don't know what the problem is. I don't get why everything's not lining right up for us.
If we did sound bites, I would have put in Aquaman right there.
Aquaman. That would have been amazing. Aquaman. If we were a morning zoo radio show, that would have been.
That's where Johnny Depp's drop goes.
That would be played constantly, though. Aquaman. We'd play that all the time because that cracked us both up more than anything.
That and somebody took a grumpy.
Jesus Christ. Oh man. So sorry, everybody. We've barely said
have we gone off
we went way off the rails. We're 15 minutes into this. If this is your first episode, I don't even know what you're thinking by now, but it's a comedy show, and we're going to talk about some wrestling and other shit too. I don't know. This is our show. Enjoy. Here it is.
This is what we do.
So she's born in Tampa, but raised in Nashville, Tennessee.
Jesus.
And Tampa, obviously, in the 40s is a way different time than Tampa then. And we don't know in the 40s her father might have been stationed in Tampa. I mean, that's during the war, military times. Who the fuck knows?
And it may not have been that far off from what it is today.
Oh, I'm sure it was what was it, whores and thieves and pirates then too? Yeah. All right, well then it's the same thing.
Probably. In the 40s? Fuck.
Yeah, same thing. But she's raised in Nashville. Nashville, obviously. Tennessee, especially the Memphis area, steeped in wrestling always. It's the South has always been a wrestling hotbed. And in Tennessee's an area where you could drive to wrestling in several different territories there. So Tennessee's really like that. They love their wrestling. Memphis was the last territory to die. It was, it stayed alive longer than anybody else. Memphis has always had its own thing going on. She, in high school and everything, played basketball and was a cheerleader.
Is that right?
Yes. She's, by the way.
60s.
Yeah, she's hot, by the way. That's the thing. Yeah. Back then there was kind of not as attractive broads that were the bad guys, and then there was hot broads who were and I use broads because they always call themselves broads back then. Yeah, they were the baby faces. So she was a cheerleader. She played, like I said, basketball. She got into wrestling in 1961, and she's 5'4", 5'5", 110 pounds. She's little.
Holy shit.
Yeah, she's very little when she gets into this. She's a little blonde waif thing, and but she's very cute. So she'd say in interviews, and we don't know because wrestlers were never.
Who knows?
Everything was kayfabe back then. It was all bullshit. It was all a big smokescreen. So nobody ever said who they actually were or where they were actually from or any of that shit. So she claimed that she started liking wrestling from, quote, roughhousing with her brother. So, wrestling around with her brother made her tough. And maybe she was like a, kind of what they'd call a tomboy back then, where she liked to, play rough and tumble, quote unquote, boy shit out in the yard. So,
and it's probably at least partially true because brothers and sisters constantly fight.
Yeah. And if there's a brother and a sister, especially if he's older, he'll be like, you're playing football because we don't have enough people. So you're the wide receiver now. It's just how it would be.
Catch it.
Yeah. She said, they told me I was too light, so I took the falls, body slams, and punishment. Then I came back for more, and now I'm doing well. So that's her original deal. She originally got into the game with Moolah, as everybody did back then in the early 60s. From the mid-50s on, you had two choices if you were a woman to get into wrestling. Yeah. Only two choices. You either went through Moolah's camp, was one, or you married a wrestler and then he brought you in as his valet, manager, and then you worked your way in like that, which a lot of women got in that way too. A lot of big stars got in that way. That's your Elizabeths, your Precious, your Baby Dolls, your all of those people. And then you have and that's how Moolah, I think, originally got in, was she was married to a guy back in the 30s or some shit in the 40s. So, or you could go through Moolah's camp. And she went through Moolah's camp, which if you're a lady wrestler, that was the way to go. Except she was one of the ones, there wasn't a lot of them, who broke away from Moolah's camp and told Moolah to go fuck herself and still had a career afterwards. So most of the time, if you did that, basically Moolah would have you blackballed, kind of a thing. That was the big rumor for then, because otherwise, if you left, she wanted a cut of your money forever. Right. That was how it worked. But Evelyn, became such a name that she couldn't really do that to her. People still wanted to book her. You just couldn't, she was good and she was known. So if you can draw.
Do you think Moolah chose that name because it is also a slang term for money? Like
that is why.
Doing it right in front of people's faces?
No, she said when she was a wrestler, that's one of the promoters said that you're the Moolah. That's what she said. He said you're the money. He said you're the Moolah kid. You're the money, because she could make the money. So she called herself the Fabulous Moolah after that. She was saying
fucking amazing.
Right, and she always came out saying look at me, I'm the champion. I'm fucking rich. I'm everything. That was her whole thing. I'm the best. Look at me.
She's the Bernie Madoff of wrestling.
Absolutely, just flaunting it right in your fucking face.
Right. I'm literally calling myself what I'm doing.
He might as well called himself Bernie Ponzi. That would have been
Ponzi Madoff.
Maybe if he married someone, he could have just tacked it on. Madoff Ponzi. It would have been perfect.
Bernice Ponzi.
Bernice Ponzi, Madoff, fucking Stevens, Jardine, Regal. Just add them all up. Oh, Christ. So she was, and part of her appeal, Evelyn, was that she was hot. Yeah. She was hotter than most of the other ladies. She just was. I mean, I'll show you a picture here.
Oh, boy.
Of her getting off.
Is this my new
Oh, do I have it on here now?
I Google it.
I don't have it on here. I will put it in the social media, though. But it's her getting off of a plane, and she's in 1963, and she's she looks like she's a playmate getting off this fucking airplane. It's ridiculous. She's blonde and she's stacked and she's got muscular legs and she's fucking hot. I mean, there's no
like the flight attendant eye candy.
Exactly, one that they would put on on a commercial for she'll be serving you and maybe getting you in a headlock. She might squeeze your head until you come. You never know.
One way or another, your head's involved.
Yeah, no shit. So she ended up actually being a heel a lot of the times because she was pretty and she played it off that way. As far as you're a bunch of losers and I'm pretty.
Bait and switch,
type of thing, which works also. It's like the handsome wrestler who's you people, I'll take all your women are drooling over me. The ravishing Rick Rude, Hernandez model. So
Roman Reigns was that way until now he's a good guy, right?
I don't know shit about Roman. I can't
think
tolerate
he was a
wrestling.
bad guy, and now everybody roots for him.
I don't know. I'm out for the last 15 years. I tried. I can't watch a bunch of guys with groomed beards and carefully planned tattoos and waxed eyebrows. I can't do it, dude. I can't do it.
Show me a guy with a pizza slice on his forearm. That's the guy I want to win.
Show me a guy who looks like he would kick the shit out of half a bar. That's who I want to see in the ring, because that's I want to go. I want to see him fight another guy who looks like he can kick the shit out of half a bar, and you put those together. Or a guy who's a pussy, who you think is a pussy and acts like he's tough, and then you want the tough guy to beat him up. That's wrestling. I don't want to see two of these groomed motherfuckers in there. I can't see it anymore. I can't do it.
Sweating.
I can't do it, dude. I can't do it. It's like they're so. It's ridiculous. They're not. I want outcasts. I don't want these fucking people. I want weirdos and outcasts and people who had nowhere else to go, and that's who I want.
The Rock was popular in high school. I don't want this.
Yeah, and he was great at it. Don't get me wrong, but he's he's fucking third generation. So what do you expect? Of course he's going to be great at it. He had it in his blood. You know what I mean? But people like that who aren't like that, I don't want that. Stone Cold was a great wrestler because he washed out of football and had nowhere else to go. That's what he did. Literally.
He's ugly.
Yeah. Washed out of football, knee fucked up. Where am I going? Okay, I got stringy, thinning blonde hair. I'm pretty tough. I'm a pretty big guy, and he got into that. Drank beer every night. That's what I want to see out there. I don't want to see these fucking people.
Goldberg, too.
A lot of these guys were washed out football players, or they were wrestlers from the beginning, or whatever it was. But that's what I want to see. I want to see freaks. I don't want to see these fucking people out there.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I don't.
Yeah, crossed eye, spit on his fucking beard. Show me that. I get that the guys now are working at a different level and they're working at a higher level. I understand that, but I also don't want to see that either. I don't want to see fucking choreographed acrobatics. I want to see, at least give me the, I don't know.
I want to see a guy that drinks Pennzoil.
Yeah, drink Pennzoil. That's fine. Roddy Piper did a fucking promo where he smashed a bottle of beer on his head. I want to see that. A glass fucking bottle. Show me that. Look how crazy I am. That's what I want to see. Not, let me be well-spoken for a moment here. These writers wrote me these wonderful lines last night, and let me show you in a polished way how I can deliver them. I just got my facial hair done perfectly. Do you see the lines here? That's nice. My eyebrows are waxed. I know you'll enjoy that.
My beard is waxed.
I spent an hour at the hairdresser today, and they said my roots are looking wonderful. I don't want to fucking see that. I want a guy who fucking bleaches his hair in a shitty motel sink after the fucking matches. That's what I want.
He got some on his shoulder hair.
Yeah, it's more fun. I don't care. Well, either way. So that's what she does. She ends up competing all over the place, and she starts. I found her first match that I can find is in May of 1961.
Jesus.
Where she appears to be in a mixed tag with midget wrestlers.
Awesome.
Yes, and that makes a lot of sense because, and I'm going to say midget wrestlers because they call themselves midget wrestlers, and that's what they prefer to be called. So I'm not going to, if it makes you uncomfortable, sorry.
Sorry about it.
Argue with them. They'll kick your ass. They're tough.
Yeah.
They're tough son of a bitches. It's just,
I love it when it's one guy fighting two, sometimes three, four of them. It's amazing.
3'8" of muscle, man. That's all those motherfuckers are. So the girls and the midgets had their own, they kind of traveled in the same circuit because they didn't stay one place. Like normally a guy will come in and he will be in a territory for 6 months to a year, work at a couple of programs, and depending on how successful he is, and then he'll go to the next territory. The girls and the midgets didn't do that. They'd come in for a month to each territory because they were just a special attraction. That's all they were. So they'd go around their circuit for 2 weeks or a month, and then they would go move on to the next territory. Now, there was 40 territories back then, so you could do that all year. Sure. And everybody had work, but they had their own little stable where they would do their own matches, and they had their own shit worked out because they were always together going to different territories. So, so they did a best. Her first match I can find is a best 2 out of 3 falls. Her and Lord Littlebrook, who is still wrestling in the fucking 80s, man. Wow. I want to say, I think Lord Littlebrook is in the goddamn WrestleMania 3 King Kong Bundy with 2 midgets versus Hillbilly Jim and 2 midgets. I want to say he's in that match.
That's an awesome match.
That's
cool.
You'll love the ending because it ends in a disqualification when King Kong Bundy just attacks the other midgets. The rules are big guys fight big guys, little guys fight little guys, and Bundy just loses it, starts tossing little dudes all over the fucking ring. This is fucking 450-pound monster throwing what looks like people the size of fourth graders all over the ring. It's awesome. It's a terrible match. It's cheesy as shit, but the ending is like, this is wrestling right here. A big fat bald guy with his eyebrows shaved off, just like, I will crush a midget before under my fucking boots.
This is circus caliber entertainment.
Yeah,
I'm in.
This is good stuff right here. This is terrible.
Like Gulliver's Travels. If Gulliver just started
absolutely
throwing them as they're tying him down.
Tossing them all over the place. So, her and Lord Littlebrook beat Bull Brummel and Peggy King. I've heard of Peggy King, too, another female wrestler. For about 20 years there was a stable of female wrestlers, and they were the wrestlers. That they were good. You didn't break in. There was a lot of these ladies like Evelyn Stevens and your Donna Christianellos and all those. They had like a...
I don't like this at all. They sound like tennis players. I need to know what they are. Like the Divas, they have goofy fucking names, and you know what they are. Like this is...
They're just regular. They all have regular names. They all have regular
like
names.
Players.
Yeah, like tennis players. They wear one-piece bathing suits always, too. That's their outfits. Always one-piece bathing suits.
Glow,
yeah. And that was the female wrestling, before that.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles...
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles...
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
So that's she's starting in Central States Wrestling, which is Missouri, and I believe that's the one that's Bob Geigel at the time, who's known as the cheapest son of a bitch in the history of the world of wrestling, which says something for wrestling, that he's the cheapest guy ever in a wrestling territory. Next up, she's up the next month. I see her again. This is in Omaha. Her first match was in St. Joseph, Missouri. Her second one is in Omaha, and it's a mixed tag match again. It's got to be, it's midgets again because I see Tiny Rowe in there. It's Evelyn Stevens and Cowboy Bradley versus Millie Stafford and Tiny Rowe. And Tiny Rowe.
Cowboy's a midget?
I suppose. No, the Cowboys, it has to be, yeah. He's got to be. Big hat, little guy. Yeah. Little guy, big hat.
That's all hat, no body.
That's
right?
all, yeah. Yeah, he's a badass. But her first singles match I see is in June. It's like 10 days after that last one with, again, Central States. It's in St. Joseph, Missouri, and she beats Jessica Rogers. Oh. Sounds like two reporters are fighting. Evelyn Stevens and Jessica Rogers. Whoever wins gets the story. Go.
Battle it out to call the weather.
Battle it out. They come in like black and white, skirt suits that those like lady reporters would wear back then, and you watch them fight in black and white.
Never heard the word barometer said so much.
Oh, man. So later on that month, so she's in the circuit at that point. Best 2 out of 3 falls. She's teaming with Cowboy Bradley again. They must have made quite the team.
Yeah.
Versus Tiny Rowe and Kathy Starr that time.
Okay.
So then she's in tag team matches. Her and Peggy King, who she was against in her first match, now she's tagging with her. A mere month later, she's tagging with her, Jimmy.
Now
Think
we're
about
pals.
that. My God. The reconciliation that must have occurred. They must have shown a mutual respect for each other, Jimmy. That's trying to find a storyline here. So
I really like the way you beat up that midget. Me too. I like the
me
way you did
too.
mine.
That was pretty good. Kicked him right in the face. Good job. So they lose to Millie Stafford and Dot Dotson.
Dotson.
Dots. Yeah, they didn't really do much with these names here.
No.
Then the next night, or I'm sorry, like a week later,
Yeah.
now Evelyn is tagging with Millie Stafford.
Oh.
I don't know what happened, and she's beating up Dot Dotson and Jessica Rogers, who they defeat. So I don't know what kind of change of heart goes on here. I think Evelyn has shifting loyalties. That's what I'm going to. I'm going to come out right out and say it.
Yeah.
I don't think you can trust her.
No.
I don't think you can
Feels like
trust her.
she's every person she meets, she loves them.
She loves them, and she's going to tag with them, and the next thing you know, she's going to be beating their asses. So that match though, that was at the Kiel Auditorium in St. Louis, which was a big deal. That was NWA's. It's kind of at the time, their crown jewel was the St. Louis territory, and to fight at the Kiel was a kind of a big deal for her. So in her first year in the business, right away she's fighting there. That had Sam Muchnick as the guy who ran it, who's like known as the most respected guy in the NWA for 40 years or so. So she was there. Next up, she has a title match here. Wow. Hey. This is at the Civic Auditorium in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Get out.
So this is why people wanted to be wrestlers too back then. Is
for the vacation.
First place you're going places. Yeah, if you're some chick in Nashville and you don't have like a future, your family can't afford to send you to college or secretarial school or whatever the fuck back then, and you didn't marry some football player whose father owns an insurance company or some shit, you're going to be stuck in Nashville for a while. So instead, you're in her first year in the business. She's going to Hawaii. Yeah.
I've never seen Hawaii. Jesus.
No. In 6 months, she went from St. Joseph, Missouri to Honolulu.
Wow.
That's pretty fucking cool. So not too bad. She loses the title match to Kathy Starr, but that's fine. She got a title match with the NWA. That means it's a...
Go put your feet in the sand. You'll be all right.
Yeah. The U.S. women's title belt, not the main title belt. Next up, she's wrestling for the AWA, Vern Gagne, who we've talked about many times. We can actually do an episode on now with the shorter time period with his ending, as you remember what he did. So, yeah, that'll actually be fun. So she's in the AWA getting beat by Barbara Baker. Again, not a real... You know what I mean? Doesn't really...
The names are so bad. They sound like tennis players. They really do.
They do. They sound like tennis players or local anchor women.
Yeah.
One of the two. Yeah. I'm Barbara Baker. Here's the news. You can see that. Or I'm Evelyn Stevens. Here's what happened today. All of these things. KUST in Wisconsin. That's Cust.
Yes, that's where I see them all, is Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's what I see. The Wisconsin at a news desk sitting there. Hi, I'm Evelyn Stevens with her hair done all nice.
Good morning.
Next to me is Barbara Baker.
I'm Pamela King. Was it Patty King? Who was it?
Peggy King. I'm Peggy King. Peggy King sounds like a tennis player and only a tennis player. But Jessica Rogers... That sounds like Jessica Rabbit. It sounds like that sounds like a reporter. Barbara Baker here with Evelyn Stevens, and they're going to tell you, run down the news, tell you what's going on, the facts of the day, and move on.
Here's Bob with sports.
And here we're going to Cowboy Bradley for weather.
Cowboy Bradley for sports.
Little guy, big hat, and there he is. Let me tell you what happened today in Texas sports, buddy. Okay. We made a great newscast. So she's in AWA again, and she went from the AWA. Their territory is big. She was in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Oh, boy.
And then in Rochester, Minnesota a couple days later. And then back to Central States, where she's teaming up with Ann Reagan, Ronald's sister, and to beat Barbara Baker and Jessica Rogers. So they definitely get the newscast because they beat them.
Sure do.
2 out of 3 falls here. Wrestling at the Chase And May 26, 1962, she's at NWA Wrestling at the Chase, which is the TV taping there, and that's a huge deal to do that at that point in time. And the Chase is the Chase Hotel in St. Louis, which
Really?
we know of. Yes, you know the Chase Hotel.
Right.
That's why last time we were there, I stayed there because it's the place where wrestling was. Yeah, I was like, and I found out where the fuck it was, and I was like, holy shit, this was the fucking Chase. Wow, cool. Not there now, obviously, but it was cool to know that was there. So she goes on to she's in a 5-woman battle royal at one point. 5.
Oh, wow.
5.
I'd love to see that.
5. That is wild. Judy Glover won it. It was Ann Reagan, Judy Glover, Evelyn Stevens, Jessica Rogers, and Kathy Starr.
At all times, there's a 2-on-1 happening.
That's why they're doing. That's
awesome.
why you have that. And you notice these women are all working together all the time.
Yeah.
They're their own little circuit, and you can see they go from Central States to St. Louis to Hawaii to AWA, and they go through all the different things, and they're an attraction because they're something different.
Right.
So they would talk about, like in the AWA, they would talk about they had a certain thing they would do. Like they'd have Battle Royals one month, they'd have Andre the Giant in, then they'd have the girls and the midgets in another month, and that would be their attraction. And they'd have certain times where those were the attractions.
Brilliant.
So yeah, there's a 6-woman match here.
Okay.
Oh no, this isn't. Holy shit. Yeah, 6. Evelyn Stevens, Judy Glover, and Penny Banner.
Hey.
That's a reporter. That's a field reporter. Penny Banner in the field.
It
Penny,
never stops.
I'm at the corner of 14th and Amsterdam where there's several dead bodies lying about That's what that is.
I think Evelyn left them.
Yeah. They beat Ann Reagan, Jessica Rogers, and Kathy Starr. And then she goes to Texas after that. She ends up in Amarillo territory, which is the Funks own that. Terry Funk's dad, Dory Funk Sr., owns that. That is a rough and tumble. It's Texas wrestling. I mean, it's blood and guts and fighting, and you had to hear the punches hit the faces. People wanted to hear that. These are rough and tumble people in the 60s in Amarillo. You know what I mean? So she's the champion down there by 67. I'm looking at all of her shit, and it's like you kind of lose track of her from 63 to 67, even though you know she's working all over the place, but she doesn't have any like big things. She's just going around circuits. Okay. By 67, she's the Texas champion, and I see her defending her title and beating somebody that year. So she stays the champ, it looks like, for a little while here. She beats Mae Young. You know who Mae Young is, right?
No.
From the Attitude Era?
No.
The old lady who was hanging out with Fabulous Moolah?
Oh.
That's her.
She's little, right?
Yeah. Well, so's Evelyn.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, they end up fighting there. So
Okay.
there's Evelyn beats her, keeps her title, loses her title to Barbara Galento.
Hey.
Who sounds like a tough broad from the neighborhood in Philly. I got my ass kicked by Barbara Galento. I went into the store. I came out for a minute. She kicked the shit out of me for no reason. I don't know what happened.
No, it was her husband.
It was Barbara Galento. Yeah. Well, the Galento brothers are all of her brothers, and they're known for being very tough. You don't fuck with the Galento brothers. If she doesn't beat you up, then they'll all come for you, so you're in trouble. They send out Barbara first.
It's a real insult when she shows up to kick the shit out of you.
Yeah.
They're not even wasting their time with you.
They just said Barbara? Oh, Christ. Oh, no.
They don't respect me at all.
Barbara's just with her knuckles. Gonna kick your ass. Next up, this is interesting because it's her and a guy named Nick Kozak versus, and this is a mixed tag, male and female, versus Barbara Galento and Gary Hart, who, if you're a wrestling fan, you know who Gary Hart is because he's one of the more famous managers in history and bookers of Texas for a long time, and just a legend in the world of wrestling. Gary Hart is. I don't know if you know who he is. Bald guy. Had a mustache a lot. We're talking by the 80s. Had a bald guy mustache, known for always carrying a straight razor and shit like that. And a gun. He's a bad motherfucker, Gary Hart. He's crazy. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
These were old-time tough guys, and people would try to assault them in parking lots and shit for being bad guys. So bad guys carried weapons with
Bad
them.
shit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a story of a bad guy back in the day. There's not a bad guy back in the day who doesn't have a story of having to pull out guns on people and fucking tell them to go away. Even people like Jerry Lawler have like 10 stories of pulling guns on people. Yeah, this is very common.
Really, a guy that carries a straight razor is the scariest fucking person on the planet.
That's old school. Gary's a Chicago guy, so he's just that's old school, like just some street shit. I will cut your ass.
That's a wild fucking weapon.
When I was a teenager, we used to carry box cutters. That's what it was. It's the same thing.
But
Click,
a box
click.
cutter, I mean, the blade on it is so much smaller than a straight razor. A straight razor is so big.
The box cutters are the ones you click out.
Oh,
so you can make that shit 5 inches
where it
long.
Breaks off, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we used to carry around because that's what everybody had.
I mean, a straight razor is basically that, but it doesn't break.
It doesn't break. No, yeah, these are
That's
disposable. You want to throw these down a sewer if you had to
Yeah.
use one. That's the thing. Straight razors,
the
some
straight
shit you
razor's
got from
expensive. You wanna hang on to that for a
Get
while.
that from your grandfather. You're gonna keep that.
It's got an elephant tusk fucking
Yeah,
handle. This
that's
thing's
what I mean.
expensive.
It's got etching in it and shit. Like it's got your grandfather's initials and shit. It's a different deal. So it's interesting who she crosses paths with. Paths cross with, I just said. So
That's a thing.
in 68 here in July, I see her and Pat Patterson, who is the Pat Patterson, a booker of the WWE forever and a big, huge star in his own right as a wrestler. This is early in his career, his first 5 years of his career, versus Dory Funk and Evelyn Stevens. And Dory Funk, this is Dory Funk Sr., the patriarch of the Funk clan here. So that's pretty interesting. Next up, I got her and Ricky Ramiro beating Barbara Galento and the Sniper. These are all Amarillo shows here. Then I see they're in Georgia. And in Georgia, she's fighting Barbara Galento because they have a match worked out. So they take it to all the territories. She beats Jessica Rogers for the title again in Texas in 68. I see a lot of mixed tags here. She's with Gary Hart. Ooh, here's one with Danny Hodge. Danny Hodge is known as like the toughest made of leather man ever. They Jim Ross has Danny Hodge is his idol, and he was a wrestler. Danny Hodge was like undefeated in 4 years of Division I wrestling and all this crazy shit, and he was a wrestler too. And he's known as the toughest guy ever. He crashed his car and broke his neck, and he crashed his car in a pond and broke his neck and swam out with a broken neck.
And
then walked to the road and got home. He used to go to promote the wrestling in small towns back in the 60s and shit. He would go to he'd go to the down to the hardware store and he'd buy 10 pairs of pliers and he'd sit there and break all the pliers with his hands. Wow. And he'd have a box of apples and he'd just crush apples with his hands. He'd just go pop and they'd explode in your hand. Try to do that.
Sideshow shit, and he's doing it for real.
Because people would then he'd show, wow, this guy's really tough. He's not full of shit. Well, I want to go see him fight somebody. That type of shit. So that's what they used to have to do back in the day. But he's famous for that, Danny Hodge. These are six-man matches. Danny Hodge, Evelyn Stevens, and Lorenzo Parente. I wonder what his gimmick was. Hey,
hard to guess.
I'm here in Texas. Nice to see you. Hey, I'm in Oklahoma. This is in Oklahoma. Where do you get a good spaghetti around here, huh?
I do like the new wrestler that is the pizza guy. I like him a lot.
I don't know anything about a pizza guy at all.
He's not in the WWE. He's in like NWA or
AEW
TNA or something. What is it?
AEW. Yeah.
But he has a pizza crust that he
Oh,
spends
I
his
saw
time-
that bullshit. I hate that shit. No.
Love him.
No. Fuck out of here with that crap.
He's probably a Mexican guy, but I love him.
I hate that shit. That to me. I can't deal with that shit.
He's smacking people with the pizza.
That's so stupid. That's so stupid.
It is dumb, and I love it.
Yeah. I just want it to be. I get that it's fake, and I get that I just want it to be plausible.
Okay. Yeah.
Just plausible. and I'll stretch plausible. I'll stretch plausible to the point of a guy on the mat while Macho Man climbs up to the top rope and poses for a second and then does a flying elbow. But he's beat him up for 20 minutes, so he's got 20 minutes into this. That's the end of plausibility because he would at least jump up to the top and act like he was doing it quick.
Yeah.
The get up and then the guy's laying there and you climb up. Then you climb up to the top of a ladder and then you do 8 hand gestures that they know of and get them to chant something and then make another pose and then do a backflip 8 times. The whole time he hasn't moved down there. I can't deal with that. That's too much.
Still recovering.
that to me that's over the line for me. Where I'm like, okay, I'm not a complete moron. Please don't. I'm willing to be stupid for you, but don't make me a moron. That's all.
And the pizza dough's obviously not real because if your pizza dough comes apart,
yeah, it does. Well, you could make it real.
Spin it and smack somebody. It turns. It changes into different shapes, and this thing just stays flat. What kind of dough is that?
Yeah, what kind of dough you using, Chief? What do you got here? Oh, man. So they end up fighting Jack Donovan, Mrs. Jack Donovan. That's a gimmick for you. I'm Mrs. that guy. Sure.
I'm that guy if he wore a dress.
Yeah, why not? And Ron Reed, she's has her Texas title here in Houston where she beats Kay Noble, who, again, sounds like a Texas beauty queen.
How do they
Kay
do
Noble.
it?
Here's a weird mixed tag. Evelyn Stevens and notorious kid diddler fucking disgusting pedophile Grizzly Smith. That's who she teams up with here. If you don't know from our history, that is Jake the Snake Roberts' father and Sam Houston's father and Rockin' Robin's father. And Jake the Snake was conceived when Grizzly Smith went out on a date with Jake's mother and during the date raped his date's 14-year-old daughter.
Right.
Resulting in Jake the Snake Roberts, and then married that 14-year-old, and his mother-in-law became the woman he went on a date with while he raped her daughter. That's Grizzly Smith, and that has already happened. So that's the type of guy we're dealing with here.
Gross.
He was literally banned from several towns where the cops had to talk to the promoters to say, don't bring him back here.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, several towns, don't bring him back. They actually they'd lose the money of not coming back to that town to make sure that Grizzly Smith didn't go get arrested there because
he's such a bad person.
He was diddling kids. But they beat Betty Nicoli and Renee Goulet, who wrestled as a jobber in the 80s still with WWF. He was terrible back then. So then Texas women's title, Evelyn Stevens beats Joanne Molyneux, I guess. I don't know. I see her beating Tony Rose in Fort Worth. I see her beating Tony Rose again in Fort Worth. So this is around this time is when she meets Don Jardine.
Okay.
Don Jardine is a very famous guy in the wrestling world, for old school wrestling world. He's better known as the Spoiler, which was his gimmick. He's a masked guy known as the Spoiler, managed by Gary Hart. Very famous guy, but a lot of people know his name because he became a trainer later on, and he's the guy who trained The Undertaker.
Oh.
Yes. Very similarly, when Undertaker first started, you know how he walks the ring ropes? He'll go up on the top rope and then just walk out on them all weird. Right. You didn't really see people doing that before him. The only guy that really did that before him was Don Jardine, who taught him to do that. That's why he did that as like a tribute to his trainer. And all the old school wrestling people, when he did that, they were like, oh, shit, it's like the Spoiler. I've never seen anybody do that since the Spoiler type of thing. So he's a big guy, Don Jardine, 6'5", over 250. So back then in the 60s, he was a fucking monster. That was one of the giants back then, outside of like Ernie Ladd and a couple of guys that were 6'10", 6'11". Yeah. He was pretty fucking big.
Got him a tiny wife, huh?
Got him a tiny little blonde wife here. So that's Don Jardine, real name Donald Delbert Jardine. So there's your first last name for Evelyn. And that's how Gary Hart got involved in her life and his life and all that sort of shit. Now, they end up in Australia at one point here.
What?
The whole crew. Jim Barnett, who's a famous wrestling promoter for all the way up through the 90s in fucking WCW, he was still holding on. He's the guy that every time his name is brought up, every wrestler who's sitting around at the table whenever there's a discussion will do an impression of him.
Oh.
You just say Jim Barnett, wrestlers will go, my boy, my boy. He called everybody my boy, and he'd talk like that. So everyone has that impression, and they all laugh. So he started up a big promotion in Australia at this point. And Here's an excerpt from Gary Hart's very good book. Gary Hart wrote a memoir about wrestling, and it's fucking phenomenal. It's great. It's out there, too. If you look on the internet, I'll give you the name of it at the end of the show. And if you look on the internet, there's a PDF of it because it was out of print for a long time, so you can actually download it and read it. Here's some shit here from Gary Hart's book. Jim, meaning Barnett, also brought female wrestling to Australia, and one of the girls he brought was Evelyn Stevens, who coincidentally had been dating Don Jardine for about 8 months. Evelyn arrived on a Wednesday afternoon and checked into the Koala Motel, which that sounds like a joke.
Australia. Yeah.
That sounds like, what am I staying at the Koala Motel? And they're like, yeah, actually, that's where you're staying. The Emu Lodge was all full. Sorry, we couldn't fit you in.
But at cocktail hour, there are shrimp on the barbie.
There are shrimp. It's every stereotype possible. So, and we'll all compare knife sizes after that. That's how this works. So, the Koala Motel, which is where a lot of the working girls did their tricks with the men in town. This is
staying at the local
the hooker
brothel.
motel. Yeah, the hooker motel. Just that's where they're staying. So he says that night, Don and Evelyn double dated with me and my wife. I went out for a nice double date. We went out to eat, and then we saw a Tom Jones concert at the Silver Spade. Well, isn't that nice?
Wow.
what an outing they had.
What a day.
Not bad, right? If that's for like the 60s, that's hot shit.
Not bad.
It's a big day. He said, after that, we stopped by the Texas Tavern to have a few drinks. They have a Texas Tavern there?
Why do they have that there?
Wow, that's weird. Interesting. They had to go just to see what it was about since they're all Texas people.
What does Australia think Texas is?
Yeah, that would be fucking hilarious, wouldn't it?
It really would.
I want to know.
Sight unseen, an Australian that has to build a tavern about America. Never been to America, never researched anything, just everything they've ever heard.
There's tons of places like that, actually, though. There is, in that H. John Benjamin book that we always talk about there, The Failure is an Option, he talks about going to Paris in the mid-'80s, and he went to some bar that was an American-themed bar, and he said it was just like the place he worked in, the fajita place he worked in. He goes, it really reminded me of it. It was disturbing. Yeah, it was really disturbing. Yeah, they did a really good job. It really felt like it. It was strange. So they went to the Texas Tavern to have a few drinks and then went to the Koala Motel because my wife had asked Evelyn to bring over certain things that she couldn't get in Australia, like brownie and cake mixes. She wanted to make brownies and cakes, and they didn't have the kind she wanted over there. The girls were both dressed up because we had gone to a nice restaurant and a Tom Jones concert, and as we walked into the motel and started toward the elevator, the guy behind the desk yelled, "Hey, you can't take those whores upstairs." You can't take
I love Australia.
those whores upstairs, screaming it across the lobby. This wasn't, they were at the desk, they were at the elevator. This is, hey.
No
right,
whores upstairs.
You can't take those whores up there.
Oi!
Oi! That is funny.
Wonderful.
You can't take those whores up there. Now, that is Gary Hart's wife and this guy's fiance.
Right.
Two very tough, one guy who carries a straight razor and the other guy who's 6'5", 275 pounds and is agile enough to walk on a rope. So what does that tell you is going to happen here?
I will future train a man known the world over. Come here.
Yeah, come here for a minute. So he said, Don turned around and glared at him, asking, "What did you just say?"
Oh, God.
The guy behind the desk glared right back and answered, "I said you can't take them whores upstairs."
He doubled down.
If you didn't hear me, them whores there. Those two, in case you were wondering, especially the blonde one. She's pretty hot. She looks like she's cost a couple bucks more. No whores is what I'm getting at.
Oh, God, the scene.
This isn't going to go well, obviously.
No. Somebody's about to get really hurt.
No shit. So you're going to hear a lot of oi, oi coming from somewhere.
Please
he said,
stop, mate.
Yeah, please. Good God. He said, Don then told me to take the girls up in the elevator and wait in the room. I, in turn, told the girls to go up on their own because I was concerned about what might transpire.
Concerned for that man's safety.
Yeah. Keep my friend out of prison, probably.
Yeah.
He said, I knew how Don could get. Yeah. Now, the girls could have kicked his ass on their own. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
When the girls got on the elevator, as soon as the doors closed, Don leaped over the desk, hit the guy, knocked him up against the wall, picked him up, and threw him over the desk into the foyer. Then proceeded to throw him through a plate glass window out onto a patio that had a big wishing well pond, and proceeded to stomp him in the chest and stomach.
You're going to kill this man.
Yeah, he's already punched him, hit him against the wall, thrown him over a desk, then through a plate glass window. Now he stomped him, and he's still not done.
And the guy just wants him to not take horse upstairs.
He's just like, he just could have said it's my wife. It's fine.
I'm just saying. I'm just telling you hotel policy, sir.
Well, probably don't call people's wife a whore, and that's what's going to happen. Watch whose wife you call a whore next time.
I don't think in Australia whore is an insult. I think it's a job title.
It's almost like the Old West. You're saying.
Yeah.
Like that was considered an honorable thing. Like, yeah. I'm a whore. That was, okay. Yeah.
Here's my business card. I'm a whore.
It's like being a CPA back then.
Right.
Seriously. That was, you're a professional, like your thing. And I
have a tax stamp for this.
Yeah,
I'm a
absolutely.
whore.
Look at me. Yeah. And they were, that's exactly different. I think it's the same thing in Australia, probably. Still to this day, I assume, right? Yeah.
Well, it's legal there. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Good. Good for you, Australia. Watch who you talk to, though, I got to say. Watch who you talk about.
Careful that they're American, because it's not the same word here. It's like cunt.
No. Yeah, he called to your wife a whore and a cunt. So after he stomped his chest and stomach, then he lodged his head up against a brick wall, and I quickly grabbed the guy by his legs and pulled him back because I knew that Don was going to boot him right in the head.
Against a wall.
Against a wall. He was going to blow his head up like a cantaloupe because he called his wife a whore unknowingly.
Wow.
I pulled him back to save him, but now his crotch was spread open because he pulled one leg and yanked him out. Yep. Don looked at me and grinned and said, "Good idea." Oh, my God.
I am not helping you, sir. I'm trying to help him.
This is insane. By the way, Gary Hart's book full of stories just like this. It's
wow.
Any old wrestler's memoir you can get your hands on because it's all just crazy fucking stories like this. So, good idea. All right. He then kicked the guy right in the crotch, picked him up, and threw him in the pond.
My God.
I was stunned and said, "Don, get out of here right now and go back to the apartment. I'll take care of the girls." Don took off in a flash, and the guy on the floor was messed up really bad. Yeah, I guess he was. I called an ambulance and begged, "Please hurry. Someone's hurt very bad at the Koala Motel." When the police arrived, a witness told them that the attacker was me, so the cops asked me who I was. I put my best innocent face on and replied, "To be honest, I don't know him. I only know his name is Tex, and he's here on R&R from Vietnam." Some crazy Vietnam guy. I don't fucking know, man. They're doing crazy shit in the bush over there, bro. I heard some wild stuff. He said,
ran upstairs with a necklace of ears. I don't know.
I don't know what happened. He tried to take the guy's ear off. I think I saved him. I'm not sure.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a micro-city built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country. who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
He said when the guy behind the desk said we couldn't take whores upstairs, Tex flipped out on him.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know who the fuck he is. So he said the police took my passport for 4 days and took 3 statements from me, but never pursued it any further. What Don did was brutal, but the guy behind the desk was a punk and got what was coming to him. While that story shows the viciousness of Don, it also shows what a loyal friend he could be.
What a guy.
Call his girl a whore, he will. So, I mean, you can see why Evelyn would be so attracted to him.
Loyal friend and terrific defending husband.
I would say so. As a friend, Don in every way was a great guy and would give you the shirt off his back. I've literally seen him give his wrestling boots to new young guys who couldn't afford boots. He even gave Dusty Rhodes, 3 ring outfits when he was starting out. What Don did that night at the Koala Hotel was done out of respect for me, my wife, and his girlfriend. Don is a very special guy, but if you mess with him, there's a heavy price to pay. So this is what wrestling was back then. Guys like that.
Shit, man.
Who could handle themselves. And, back then, if you got in a fight in town and got your ass kicked, you got fired.
Right.
Because then you were bullshit. And so everyone in town had to know, you don't fuck with those wrestlers. They'll kick the shit out of you. Right. So I think everyone in Australia probably knew that wasn't a good idea.
They got the picture pretty quick.
They got the picture quick here, even the koalas. Yeah. So in 1969, I'm looking. Oh, there she is. Evelyn Stevens defeats Donna Christianello. There it is in Australia. She fights Donna Christianello all over the place. Melbourne, Sydney, Sydney again. Here's a Donna Christianello, Mario Milano, Tex McKenzie beat Evelyn Stevens, Murphy the Magnificent, and the Spoiler, who is her husband, Don Jardine. Right. So she has a couple of matches here where she is in mixed tags with her husband. She beats Maria De Leon, her and Jose Lothario, who, by the way, is the guy who trained Shawn Michaels. Oh. So, beat Joe Blanchard, who is he's the guy who ended up, Jesus Christ, Joe Blanchard ended up taking over Southwest Championship Wrestling all the way into the 80s. He's the first guy who had the program on USA Network that Vince McMahon took over when he couldn't afford it anymore. So, yeah, that's back in the early 80s. That's who Joe Blanchard is, and he's Tully Blanchard's father, by the way. Okay. There you go. So she fights there, Joe Blanchard and Maria De Leon. All right, so we have all of that. I found a match here. I found a card. There's a newspaper card here, like what happened in the matches. And I see Dory Jr. and Terry Funk is on this card. Dick Murdoch's on here. All these fucking people, and a guy named The Mummy. Oh. The Mummy beat P.Y. Chung. Oh my God. Imagine what the stereotypes were in Texas in 1968 of P.Y. Chung.
I feel dirty already.
Wow.
I feel terrible. I feel like I did it.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good.
I certainly feel complicit.
Yeah, don't you? Don't you feel a little sticky on that one?
Yikes.
So 1969, Stevens is credited with an article in the April 1969 edition of The Wrestler magazine, which was around forever. When I was a little kid in the 80s, I used to get it, called Sex and the Girl Wrestler was the name of the article. Okay,
I'm reading.
A photo of Stevens accompanied the piece, and it focused on dating difficulties and leering fans in the arenas, guys catcalling her and shit like that. So this is from the article. Now I don't know if this is they say it's called the most outspoken article ever written by a girl wrestler. So that's what it's called. And back then, a lot of these interviews were just made up by the magazines. But there seems to be a consensus that she really said this for some reason. So I'm going to credit her with this here. She now in the photo, she's got like a bikini on, and she's looking hot. And it says, quote, what makes these old guys feel like boys again, I suppose, is the sight of two shapely young women dressed in scanty bathing suits clawing each other and being forced into rather suggestive positions.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, these positions can be downright embarrassing, but we can't help that. When your opponent catches you just right and pulls your legs apart, there isn't much you can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why that line right there is going to get so many more dirty old men to the match. Hold on a sec. They pull your legs apart and there's nothing you can do about it? Tell me more.
There's very little material there, and some are bigger than others. Sometimes something might fall out. I'm looking.
Just ladies doing that to each other? Oh, boy. All right. Yeah, that's going to get
I can
dirty
imagine
old
you're
men.
fighting over me. Sure, let's go.
Oh, man. She says, but you can never convince that old man in the first row of that. He has the idea as he stares up at the ring with eyeballs popping that the girls are trying to stir him up.
Yeah.
So that's what she says about that whole thing. So she marries Don Jardine, as we know. During the 70s, she dabbles in like some stunt work in some like low budget movies and some acting, but I don't know if she acted under what name because I can't find her in any IMDb or anything. She might have just done some stunt work in some B movies or whatever the fuck. So eventually she divorces Don Jardine.
Uh-oh.
Don't know why. I don't know if he threw her over a desk and through a plate glass window or what, but eventually
he stopped defending her for being called a whore.
I guess eventually she got called a whore one too many times. He said it's not worth it. I don't know what happened. But she ends up dating Wahoo McDaniel, who is one of the craziest son of a bitches ever, not only in wrestling, but in football as well. He's known as it. He played 8 seasons in the AFL, actually, Wahoo.
Really?
Yeah, he's a real no shit. He went to the University of Oklahoma. He's a legend there playing football, and he's a psychopath lunatic.
What's his real name?
Ed McDaniel. I think it's Ed is his real name.
I can see how you get there.
He's an Indian in the, he's a Native American with the headdress. His dad is like 1/16 Chickasaw and 1/16 Choctaw and the rest, whatever. And his mom's German,
So we'll make it up as we go.
Exactly. But at least he's part Indian.
Yeah, there's some there, yeah.
It's better than fucking Jack Scarpa, who played a Guinea from Philly, who played Chief J. Strongbow. Better than that.
Yeah. I think he was also the Indian in Ernest Goes to Camp.
Wahoo?
Yeah.
Or Chief J. Strongbow?
No, Strongbow.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Oh, man. Now, Wahoo's crazy. So this is who she decides to date. Now, we already know she dates a guy who tosses around a motel clerk with impunity. Right. Wahoo is a lunatic. So just to give you a couple of Wahoo stories and then give you a story about how tough Evelyn is in comparison. Yeah. Okay. Here is a guard on the football team from Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Wahoo, by the way, played in the AFL. He played for the Broncos for a minute. Oh. He played for the Jets for several years. Really? He was right from the beginning. He was also on the Dolphins expansion team. He's on the first Dolphins roster.
Dolphins
team, yeah. But in New York, the announcer would say, rather than tackle made by this person, when Wahoo made a tackle, he just had Wahoo on the back of his jersey. He did.
Really?
So he was he hate me before he hate me. We're talking in the early 60s.
Not even his name, just has it on the back of his jersey. It's incredible.
And when he made a tackle, because he was a linebacker, the announcer would say, tackle made by who? And the crowd would chant, Wahoo. That was every time he made a tackle. So that was a big deal. This one guy says about him, he was the type of guy who actually bet someone he could run from Midland to Odessa, Texas.
That's a long way.
Yeah, he said it was like 20 or 30 miles. Right. But Wahoo didn't have a body for running. He was like 5'11", 280. Yeah. He's not exactly a distance runner type of physique. He said, so he completes the run. He did it. He's just crazy, Wahoo. And then in Odessa, they bet again, double or nothing, that he couldn't drink a quart of oil.
Oh, my God, he's going to do it.
Well, yeah, he said Wahoo drank half a quart and passed out.
It's fucking poison.
He said, I was reading that story in Sports Illustrated, sitting next to Wahoo on a plane, flying to a game, and asked him if it was true. I couldn't believe it, but he told me all about it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And this is what he says. quote, I'd been running 10 miles a day training for OU, this is Wahoo, for the OU wrestling team, and I accepted a challenge from some people in the athletic dorm. The bet was that I could run from the front steps of the dorm in Norman to the city limits of Chickasha, which we did a small town murder episode about, without stopping. So I put on shorts and a T-shirt and took off right at noon. They followed me in a car to make sure I didn't stop. Uphill, downhill, God, it was brutal. But finally I reached the top of a hill, and below, there was Chickasha, 36 miles in exactly 6 hours flat.
He ran 6 miles an hour?
It's pretty impressive.
Wow.
I collected $185 for that as a bet. In the late 50s, that's a lot of money.
For fucking nearly 40 miles, though? That's almost...
like
it's almost suicide, man.
But that's like a month's salary for an adult in 1958. You know, that's a lot. And then he drank motor oil.
Yeah, but Marathon died after 16 miles?
Yeah, this is 36 miles.
That. He's running 2 marathons.
This is insane. He said, and later after word of that Chickasha stunt got around, I started running shorter distances from Norman to Oklahoma City, just 20 miles against fraternity relay teams. I'd give them a half a mile head start, but didn't like the long. But I didn't. Oh, he said his coach Bud. Bud didn't like the long haul running either, though. Didn't want him to run that much.
Right. That's
hurt his knees. So. He talks about motor oil. This is what he said about it, Wahoo. That oil made me sick. For months, every time I'd sweat, I could feel the stuff oozing out. I smelled like an old pickup truck. Oh, my God. He said, in those days, I'd do anything on a bet. Eat a gallon can of jalapeno peppers. Didn't matter.
Gross.
Jesus Christ. So his buddy here from school said, quote, our first trip to New York to play the Jets. This is later on when he's playing for somebody else. First trip to New York to play the Jets. The police were waiting for him outside the plane. They arrested him. They all knew him. He had some disturbing the peace ticket or some traffic ticket he had to pay. One of the coaches went with him and paid a $300 or $400 fine so he could play that day.
Wow.
So there's that. Midway through the 68 season, on the eve of a game at Denver, Neighbors, this is his friend Neighbors, received a phone call from Wahoo at 3:30 a.m. Wahoo had gotten a fight in Denver with some cops.
Some cops.
You get a call at 3:30. Hello? Half asleep. What's up? What's going on? I got in a fight with some cops. What? That's not a fight.
Yeah. I mean, apart from a bunch of dirty cops, you're generally in the wrong every time.
A fight? That's not a fight with some cops.
No.
Some people tried to arrest me and I got away after beating them up. That's a different fight.
Unless this is The Sopranos, you're probably in the wrong.
Well, he told them that he got in a fight with some cops and he had to put the old sleeper hold on a few of them.
A few?
A few of them. Said to put a few cops to sleep. Jesus Christ. Now, he said that Wahoo called me on the phone. Another guy said Wahoo called him on the phone, too, but he said, I didn't do anything. They just did everything, and then I had to put him to sleep. So the general manager, or the coach, George Wilson, he says about George Wilson came to my room and said he didn't have a choice. They traded him to San Diego right then in the middle of the night, and it was the last time I saw him. They traded him and got him on a plane so he didn't get arrested.
Unbelievable.
They traded him out of the jurisdiction real quick. Man, so he said another time, this was when they were with the Broncos. He said somebody was making popcorn for McDaniel and a half dozen other teammates in his training camp hotel room. They said the assistant comes around and gives notices of people being cut. This is the Turk that comes around. You've all seen Hard Knocks. They come around, bring your playbook, and come see Coach, right? Yeah. So the assistant giving notices to those being cut was coming door to door down the hall. The knock came on the door. This is a guy named Mingo. He said the knock came on Mingo's door. A player in the room was about to be cut. Wahoo had this Bowie knife he carried around. When they opened the door, Wahoo let out an Indian yell and threw the knife into the wall. That guy went running down the hall so fast, yelling, he's crazy. He's trying to kill me. Let him stay. Fuck it. I don't care anymore.
Who's being cut? Not me.
Not me. Wahoo. Not Wahoo. The other weird part is his Wahoo was a good baseball player too. He's just a great athlete.
Yeah.
His pony league, which is like little league, teen league, his pony league coach in Midland, Texas, was George Herbert Bush. First President Bush was his little league coach. Yeah, how fucking weird is that? At the time, he was just an oil guy, and was in the war and all that shit. And his father was a senator and all that crap. But he, the former president, said, "quote I remember Wahoo McDaniel well. He was a good kid and a pretty fair baseball player too. He had his ups and downs, but I'll always remember him as a wonderful kid who captured the imagination of West Texas in the 1950s. He was idolized and worshipped by everyone who knew him." And then he just said, "Yeah, Bush was my baseball coach in high school."
That's all.
That's
no
all.
Big deal.
Now, we set the table for Wahoo to tell you what a crazy fuck he is, obviously. And there's a million fights he's in, and he's known as a real tough guy. This is from a book. It says, quote, "McDaniel's most famous lost fight may have been with his girlfriend at the time, Evelyn Stevens." Jesus Christ. Okay. This is the story. McDaniel, Wahoo's fooling around with other girls, obviously, because he's a wrestler. So he's fooling around with other girls. Evelyn heard about it, found out about it, and rolled up on him in a bar one night. And this is fucking amazing. Rolled up on him at a bar one night, and he's chatting up some young lady here. And he's all shit-faced at the bar. So what she did was kicked the bar stool out from under him.
Oh, shit.
So he fell on the ground and then stomped him out in the fucking bar. God. Put the fucking boots to him and worked his ass over. Stomped him, punched him, whooped his fucking ass. Left the girl sitting there. Didn't say shit to her. Not her fucking problem or fault. Yeah. This motherfucker. So that's who Evelyn is. Don't make a fool out of Evelyn.
Yeah,
Put it that way. She will whoop your ass, and even a tough-ass wrestler, she'll kick his ass in the bar. And everybody was like, oh, man, yeah, that's Evelyn. So she goes on in the 60s, working Texas most of the time. She's the champ here and there, on and off. Gary Hart gets her a title match with Fabulous Moolah here for the NWA women's title. Now, when Moolah in the 80s, when she had her big thing with Wendy Richter and all that, they said that Fabulous Moolah's held the belt for like 28 years or all that bullshit. She had it most of the time, but she lost it a few times over that 28 years. And one of the times was to Evelyn Stevens, which is 3 times she lost the belt, and one of them is to Evelyn Stevens. So that's how much respect Evelyn has. So here's an excerpt again from the Gary Hart book. It's called My Life in Wrestling, by the way, the book. He says, quote, "In October 1978, I had Moolah booked in a couple of matches against Evelyn Stevens, and I thought it would be a good idea to do a quickie title switch." They do that from time to time, these quickie title switches, and just to spike a territory. It'll help. Get some talk going on. They did it. Sure. Ric Flair would drop it in Japan for a day and win it back and shit like that. So he says there were a couple of problems with that, however. First of all, Moolah first won the belt in 1956, and she didn't like losing it. This is 1978.
Yeah. Oh, my God. 22 years later?
Yeah. She doesn't like losing it. That's... Yeah, wow. She's getting up there, too, in age. I mean, you could tell. She looks like someone's grandma's beating people up by the 80s. It's weird. Second, Evelyn wasn't one of Moolah's girls. She was considered independent. So Moolah doesn't want to drop the title to some chick that she doesn't control. Yeah, right. Because otherwise, maybe she'll run away with it. What does Moolah know, So she said it was rare enough that she was getting in the ring with someone she didn't control, and now I was asking her to drop her belt to that person. Moolah had a lot of trust in me, though, so when I asked her if we could do a title switch, she agreed. Evelyn Stevens won the title on October 8th, 1978, but she only had it for... There's conflicting stories whether she had it for 2 days or 8 days. I'm not sure which it was, but she's one of the 3 people who can say that she actually pinned Moolah and won her fucking title clean. Or 4, because I guess Wendy Richter could say it later, but I guess 4. But at the time, 3. She was the third person. She lost it, actually, Moolah, dropped it once to Betty Busher in 1966 in Japan. Just for a day or two. Then she, in February 2nd, 1976, she lost it to Sue Tex Green by submission that night. So The problem with that was, this is a thing, I don't know how true this is, but legend has it that match turned into a shoot, went off, off the what was supposed to happen, and apparently this girl lost her fucking mind and decided to put her in a real fucking submission hold after a while. So that's the rumor. Don't know how true that is. So we'll see. Apparently, though, the girl wasn't going to give back the title, wasn't going to lose it back to her. Apparently, the legend has it that Vince McMahon Sr. stepped in and brokered a thing here to get her to give the title back after that because she didn't win it by, real circumstances. Altogether, Evelyn Stevens held the Women's NWA Texas Women's Championship 5 times, the NWA World Women's Championship 1 time, and apparently because it was technically WWF recognized the weird things, I guess you could kind of call her WWE, WWF, WWF champion sort of thing. So she ended up continuing from 78. She's still wrestling through. All over the place. South Carolina, I see her. In Houston, all through Texas wrestling. Central States again. I think she's in Memphis here a little bit. Look at this. She has a match where her and Dutch Mantell beat Angel and Rick Rude. This is in Rick Rude's rookie year. Yeah, right. So she goes all the way from Danny Hodge to Rick Rude. Like, that's a real long fucking way through here. I see a street fight. This is Southwest Championship. This is Joe Blanchard. This is blood and guts shit. Where she's beaten Susan Green. Is that Sue Tex Green? That is. That's that's the same one that beat old Moolah there. So she's a bad fucking woman there. She's pretty tough. So I see her wrestling all through 84. Then, from what I find here, she finds a new man around this time. Yeah, a new man, Frank Regal. The second of her names, Riegle. Frank is a bodybuilder and knows a lot of the wrestlers because they come to his gym and he trains people. Yeah, so he's a big jacked fucking dude like them. He owns a fitness center and it's called Powerhouse Gym and Fitness Center. Yep. So that tells you what that is right there. He opened it in the mid-70s and it's been thriving, doing well for him. Now, Evelyn, she ends up getting from what I understand, in 84. The last match I find her in is October 7th, 1984, Southwest Championship Wrestling, Freeman Coliseum, San Antonio, Texas. She beats Princess Jasmine. It's the last thing I see. And then apparently she is in a snowmobiling accident. An automobile accident, not snowmobile. Okay. That's more common, way more common.
Snowmobile's killing a lot of people.
Yeah, fucking a lot of people up here. So she got in a car accident and hurt herself pretty good, and she's been in the fucking ring for over 20 years on top of it. So she is sore. She's ridden in a lot of cars for a lot of hours, taking a lot of bumps. That's a lot. So she ends up retiring at this point. And she's 40. What is she, 40 at this point, which is still young in wrestling, kind of, but, not if you're banged up like that. So she ends up retiring, and she ends up working at the fitness center with her husband Frank here as a trainer, and she would coach women in fitness and training wrestling hopefuls also. She would kind of teach you, give you the basics and shit like that.
She knows.
Oh, she's legit. Yeah, she's been in the business for 20-something. She beat Moolah, for Christ's sake. She knows what she's doing. And then, and also, too, she's in great shape. You can see her. She is fucking, she's not like letting herself go or anything like that. She is in gym shape. Now, Frank is also a big guy here. Here's a guy named, you ever hear of Jeep Swenson, Jimmy, a wrestler? He's in a bunch of movies, too. He's like always some silent big oaf guy on the side. Let me show you this man here. Roll your chair, please. Look at this thing.
Oh, do I know him?
You might have seen Jeep Swenson somewhere, but
that's a character for sure.
He's a ridiculous looking man.
Cast him.
That's all natural, obviously. Yeah. What's he have, 30-inch arms probably? I mean,
that's probably an extra large shirt, and he is giving it the business.
It's fucking, he is fucking it right. It just called his girlfriend a whore in Australia. He's pounding it. Wow, that shirt is taking some abuse.
He is stretching its crotch right open. That's impressive. I mean,
he's a big righted up man.
Yeah, I'd love to be stretching a shirt like that for those reasons.
Man, in those areas, you mean? Yeah. Now, he trained with Frank, and he says Frank has been in the bodybuilding business since he's a young man, and he knows what he's doing, and he trained under him as well. Jeep did, so look at me, I'm huge. Frank's good.
If he reaches too hard for anything, that sleeve rips, right?
Oh,
there's
everything
no way that
rips. His whole
there's
shirt
no way
pops.
that sleeve has a chance.
He just has to flex, and that shirt's going to explode, It looks like. That's what it looks like.
It is part of him now.
It's wild. Yeah, look up Jeep Swenson, everybody. It's crazy. So it's Robert Jeep Swenson. So the Frank and Evelyn move in together in July of 1984, and they live together, work together, do all this shit up until August 22nd of 1986. Okay. That is when she ends up moving out because there's a bit of a problem. He apparently reportedly threw her 10 feet across a room, according to an affidavit in court records here. She said that she was terrified of Frank's violent temper, and that he had, and that she's been a victim of physical abuse of his in the past. She said, "quote Frank Riegel has a violent and ungovernable temper. He flies into rages for no reason. He uses steroids and other drugs in conjunction with his weight training."
Well, we've now found the reason.
Yeah. I mean, that he's training that guy. What do you expect?
Yeah.
"I believe these drugs are making him progressively irrational and violent. He has threatened my life, and now I fear for my life." That's what she said. So the judge granted a restraining order for her. There, and it's a dual restraining order. Everybody stay the fuck away from everybody.
Right. Nobody talk or see anybody.
Yeah. Evelyn's divorce attorney at this point, because she files for divorce, Diane O'Hare, said that her client is under psychiatric care since this has started, and that they also filed a police report with the affidavit saying that Frank threw her across a room. Also, several neighbors have witnessed him tossing her back and forth in the front yard in the snow.
Wow.
Are they just practicing bumps? What are they doing out there?
But was it aggressive or was it to train?
He's not training, though.
Oh,
They're both in their
point.
40s at this point. What were they training for?
He's just fighting his wife in the snow there.
He's just beating up his wife in the snow, I think, is what it is. He's just a big roided up asshole who's tossing his wife around in the snow. And like I said, she can take care of herself, but he's a big fucking guy.
Right.
Physically, he can toss her around. Remember, oh my God, what's her name? We did a whole bonus episode about her, Christy Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Christy Martin, tough as nails, but there's it's different, you know?
When a man's punching you, it's
and he's a boxer
real.
too.
Yeah.
So, and this is a big, giant, strong guy. So September 86 is when she files a divorce petition the next month, and now the whole thing. This is the weird part. He contends that they were never married.
Oh.
So she files a divorce. And he says, I contest the divorce, not for reasons that I don't want a divorce, for reasons that we were never married to begin with, which is a very strange answer to a divorce proceeding.
It also seems very easy to prove.
Yeah, it's very strange. So the judge signs a mutual restraining order, stay away from each other. October, November goes by with relatively little flare-up or fanfare between the two. They stay away from each other. Then at one point, December 18th, 1986, so a week before Christmas, 1986, Frank is coming home from the Powerhouse Gym. This is in the San Antonio area, by the way. Coming home from the Powerhouse Gym, drives home, gets home. At some point during the night, during this evening, apparently she's there. I don't know if she was supposed to be there, if they were seeing each other despite the restraining order, or if she just violated the restraining order and came over. I'm not sure what it is, but he came home to his own residence and she was there, which is not legal at this point in time. At some point during this argument, they get in an argument, and at some point, she shoots him at point-blank range. She takes a gun out, and she shoots him at point-blank range 3 times in the face and chest.
Oh, boy.
Not fucking around.
No,
Shoots to kill.
Eliminating the target, yeah.
Shoots to kill. Now, we don't know if he's knocking her around. This is a Sally McNeil situation now. We have a big, roided up, angry guy with a history of abuse that neighbors have witnessed and everything else. It's documented abuse, and now they're together. We don't know if he was beating her up. She's not even supposed to be there. So did he invite her over and then got in a rage and then she shot him in self-defense? Or did she show up without his permission and he tried to throw her out and she shot him? We have no fucking idea what happened. At this point, it's all up to she's the only one left and the only one who was there. But she did leave a note at the scene.
Uh-oh.
Which is different.
He's dead, though.
He's dead. She kills him. 3 shots, face and chest. He's dead.
Shit.
So she leaves a letter at the scene that says, "My God in heaven, forgive me for what I've done," which is not a good start for your defense case. Yeah. I have reached out to everyone for help. I love Frank enough for us to die together. So she writes a suicide note.
Yeah.
She's killed him. She's ready to turn the gun on herself, writes a suicide note, but then doesn't kill herself.
And then left.
She took off after that. Now, the prosecutor in the case, clearly, because they're a prosecutor, they say that Evelyn was the one to blame for how the whole thing went down, because they're going to prosecute her for murder now.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
He says if anybody was the aggressor in this relationship, it was her. She just blew him away. There's nothing in the lady's background to indicate she was a timid wallflower. The pattern of the battered wife syndrome does not fit her at all. She was a wrestler. Wrestlers are actors. Okay. So she's a wrestler, so she couldn't possibly be telling the truth about what happened. That's what he's saying.
Can't believe anything they say now.
But they're actors, but they're also super tough at the same time, even though they're phony. Do you see what he just did? Right. He just said she's super tough. Look at her in the ring, body slamming another chick, but she's also so full of shit because look at her. She's not really body slamming that chick, but she is because that's how tough she is. What are you talking about? Just talked in a circle.
Right.
It doesn't matter how tough she is. If her husband was 5'5" and weighed 110 pounds, that would make a difference. But he's a giant, jacked up bodybuilder. So who beats her up already? Right. We know that for a fact. So she might be
about why she's there, though. I mean,
that's different. Yeah. But to put it that way is a weird way to put it. It's just bizarre. Here's by the way, I'll show you a mugshot of her not looking like a crazy sex pot wrestler. Look at her.
Oh
here.
My God, what is that? Who is
She's
that?
got big, giant granny glasses on.
She looks like my mom.
Her glasses go below her nose. They're so big.
They almost touch her lips.
Yeah. We'll post her mugshot on the social media.
If she smiles, those touch her lips.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some big old glasses.
Yeah.
So there she is. She's in jail, and you don't know. I mean, I don't know who to feel bad for here. You know what I mean? Like he's dead, but does he deserve it, or was she? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Is she a monster, or is he?
All I do know is I don't know who to feel bad for there, but I do know who to feel bad for otherwise. And it's Evelyn Stevens, U.S. Olympic bicycle team, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
She won the Exergy Tour following the final stage breakaway, cementing her claim to a berth on the U.S. Olympic team for the London Games back in the day there. She took second place in a sprint with some other fucking person. I don't know. She biked for a shitload a long time.
Also, don't fuck with her.
Don't fuck with her. Yeah. So there's her, who she now is the principal something for KKR, which is a credit, some credit. I don't know. She does some financial shit now.
That was close.
There you go. So Evelyn, I mean, this could go either. This could be a long trial. You know what I mean? With what happened here and there. Evelyn just pleads guilty.
Really?
They get her to plead. I don't know what it is. I don't know, and why the prosecution, if they're so sure of everything, I don't know why they would even take a plea here. If she cold-bloodedly went over to a man's house who had a restraining order against her and shot him in the face, they should have been going for the death penalty in Texas.
Right.
Or they were unsure that that's really what happened, and the guy had his thumb up his ass, this prosecutor, and said, I don't know what happened, so I'll just take what I can get. It seems like
I suppose they scared her with the letter, right? And then she was just like, I'll just admit to it.
It looks terrible, and I think neither side wants to try this case.
Today this goes to trial, and she is home free by
probably.
Yeah,
probably. This is nobody wants this trial. There's the letter on her behalf that she doesn't want, and they don't want the fact that they can't.
She
obviously
shouldn't have been there because of the
restraining
order.
There's all kinds they don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So she pleads guilty to this, and the sentencing comes down. You, ma'am, may fuck off. 20 years in prison she gets for this.
Holy shit.
She gets 20, which in Texas, that's not a lot for shooting somebody 3 times in the face and chest and killing them in their own home.
Is it not?
Well, not in Texas.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
You're right. Yeah.
In Texas, you rob a liquor store and, the guy with you shoots someone, you get the death penalty. That shit's no joke there. But
vacuum
life in prison.
Your insides and watch you shrink while they laugh.
While they laugh. So while she's in prison, though, there is a building clemency movement for battered women over this time in the late 80s and early 90s. It's a nationwide movement prompted to help release women who could prove through hospital records, police reports, or eyewitness accounts that they were killed that they killed someone because they were in a long-term abusive relationship, right? So 1991 comes around. It is her first opportunity for parole, and she is let out with parole.
How about it?
91, they let her right out with this movement behind her and the fact that this time she's like in her late 40s.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you saw her with the big 5. 5 years. 5 Not even. It was 4 and change.
Possible murder.
Yeah. 4 and change she did. So after that, she applies for clemency because otherwise she's got 15 years of parole in front of her.
Right.
The clemency would make it so she's not even on parole.
Wow.
Okay. There's a big movement. There's an advocacy group up to basically trying to assist a bunch of these women in Texas. There's a group there. To get help, the inmates need to provide names and phone numbers to outside contacts. They have 93 women that have applied for clemency through this group, and 70 of them have submitted documents, trials, or letters or trial transcripts to support everything, so actually has paperwork. The parole board at this point in 92 had screened 13 candidates and rejected 11 of them.
Oh.
Yeah, said that they could apply again the next year, but they were rejected at that point. So now there's 2 cases up before the board coming up. One of them is Evelyn's. Yeah, there's Linda Beal, who's 52 years old, who is a Houston grandmother who killed somebody, and Evelyn, obviously, who's going by Evelyn Jardine Regal in the court docs here, who's 49 at this point. She's born in 43 then. She's born because this is 92. And one of the board people said it's kind of strange why these cases got picked and others did not. We want the board to send some more cases over. So they were wondering about that. It's the Texas Council on Family Violence is one of the people involved here. So they just turned a lady down who shot her boyfriend, who she said was abusive. They just turned that down. They got it's some of the. I guess they're getting like if there's a 5-person board, they're getting like 3-2 votes to get these people sent back, or to not give them clemency here. They said lawyers familiar with Evelyn's case paint a picture of a fatal attraction relationship in which both of them say they were abused. Over the course of this relationship, Frank has said she has done abusive shit to him too.
Right.
So this is, you know what I mean? They both have
said,
affidavits.
she said shit, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. So in 1993, her case comes up before the board and she is denied clemency on that. So she ended up having to do all that time in parole anyway. I mean, she was out of jail, which is fine. As long as you don't kill anybody else, you should be okay.
And they probably are going to offer clemency to the people that were convicted on shoddy evidence more faster than they will somebody who fucking pled.
Yeah.
You pled guilty. You
that
admitted it.
That letter too just looks tough because I
Damning
guess there
as
was
shit,
more
yeah.
to it that wasn't released. Now, she's still alive to this day, from what I understand. She remarried again at some point. We don't know if she just tacked a name on or what. From what I heard, though, she was going under her new married name and dropped the other two. So now she's really, you can't find her now. But she's trying to be anonymous.
Her new husband probably broke that information to her. You know, you don't have to do this.
You know, you could just lose them other two names, right? Really? Yeah. Drop them.
It's real
Change
easy.
it. So apparently she was living in Florida under a new name. At this point, she'd be 80 years old this year.
Jesus.
She'd be 80. Can't get enough of Evelyn. Well, you can see, here's a good picture for you. Here's one of the pictures you can buy on eBay. It's from 1970 of her. There she is, Jimmy. You see her?
Not bad.
Yeah. That was 1970, too. Like before that, she was...
I Dream of Jeannie shit.
Yeah. She's blonde. She's statuesque. There's also a cool 1968 Wrestling Review magazine with her on the cover. And it says Evelyn Stevens, and she's got somebody in a chin lock, and her hair's all crazy. And it says Blonde Bombshell from Texas. Hey. It's pretty fucking cool. I want this, man. I'm going to buy this, I think. It's a cool magazine. It's fucking cool, man. And then also, you definitely take a look for, if you want to hear crazy wrestling stories, My Life in Wrestling with a Little Help from My Friends by Gary Hart is also something you need to find yourself a hold of. That is Evelyn Stevens, everybody.
Jesus.
Evelyn Jardine Rigel, and one fucking hell of a crazy story.
Wow, man.
Lady wrestling, man. The craziest shit going. So
I'm surprised, to be honest. I'm very surprised that there aren't more of these that are just like this. You know what I mean? Identical stories.
Absolutely. Yeah, you get two jacked up people living in the same fucking house that are both physical. Yeah. And
with
then
opinions and shit.
Yeah, like Sally and Ray, like just like these two. I mean,
it's shoulders.
It's your weak ass shoulders, big fucking underdeveloped shoulders. That's what it was. Wonder if that was the beef here too. Maybe that's.
Do you know they didn't mention
terrible.
that once in that Netflix documentary?
I know,
not once.
How are you not going to? It kept coming up.
That was his biggest gripe with her.
I did the fucking research. Trust me, it kept coming up.
His complaint was her tiny bitch shoulders.
He would complain to other people about her shoulders. That's how bad it was to her, to other people. It was really a conversation.
Didn't say shit about it.
It's so weird. I was like, man, bring that up somewhere.
Don't show me your meth-fueled son. I want to see. I want to hear all about all the shit Ray said to you.
That's why you listen to Crime and Sports right there for the good stuff. So if you like that and if you love Crime and Sports, tell the world about Crime and Sports. Number one, spread Crime and Sports. Tell everyone it's still alive and you still love it. It helps so much. It's we could advertise, we could do shit like that, but that doesn't work.
No.
What works is someone telling their friend, there's this funny ass show you got to hear. That's what works. So
you
tell your
put
friends.
Us on your broad shoulders, and
that's it.
And carry us around
on your perfectly developed shoulders, and carry us around. So do that. So thanks for doing that. Get on whatever app you're on and give us 5 stars. It really does help drive us up the charts and helps the show get seen by more people. So thank you for doing that. Also, definitely want to follow on social media at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook. We are at Small Town Murder on Instagram. You certainly want to subscribe to Patreon.
Oh yeah.
Patreon.com/Crime and Sports is where you get all of the bonus episodes for the low price of only $5 a month. a mere cup of coffee, you're going to get not only the whole back catalog, like 150 plus episodes, but new episodes.
So many.
Every other week. 2 new ones, as a matter of fact. 1 crime and sports and 1 small town murder, and you'll have access to both of them and every other damn thing bonus-wise. This week, what we're going to do for crime and sports, we're going to talk about fantasy sports is what we're going to talk about. That's
The
right.
origin, yeah.
The origin and what it's become now and how it controls people's lives and ruins
Used to have to
marriages
buy the
and
newspaper.
kills families and everything
Yeah.
else. The days of sitting there with dial-up. Every time you made a move, you had to wait 4 minutes for the whole thing to load so you could make another one.
No,
Things like that.
Wives resent their husband for 4 months a year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about all of that and more there. And then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about a very fun subject. Kai, the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker.
God, he's amazing.
Who's a crazy son of a bitch. We'll play the whole interview. That way we can react to it and stuff.
God,
and
yes.
We'll play that whole thing. I'll play it for you, and we'll
He's
talk
so
about it,
dirty.
and you'll be able to hear it. He's a mess, this guy. It's an interview with a homeless man, I guess, a hitchhiker,
That's what
kind
he
of a
says.
wanderer.
He claims.
He claims. It's about 3 minutes after he murders a man with a fucking hatchet in the street.
In traffic.
Defending other people, apparently, and
Whatever
becomes
he
this
says.
national hero because he's such a weirdo. And then 3 weeks later, he ends up in prison for a horrific act. It's amazing. So you want to see the fastest rise and fall of a national figure in history. This is the one, man. It's hilarious.
It's incredible.
It's amazing. So check that out. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all of that, like I said, and more. And one other thing you get is a shout out, which you're going to get in a minute. But we also want to announce our new show here at the end. Your Stupid Opinions is the name of it. Look for that, where we talk about reviews. As you know, if you listen to Small Town Murder, we do town reviews.
Yeah.
And then we branch that out on Patreon into reviews of everything. And we would do episodes like that. And they're some of the best received and most beloved episodes. And we said that's where we have the most fun.
We're gonna make all
So we're going to do it. Yeah. Like I said, it could be the diner at the Newark airport, a sleazy motel with somebody's court schedule drawn on the wall and bloody razors laying around and shit in rural Missouri. It might be a cross-stitching class in Salt Lake City, Utah. Who knows? But we'll read the reviews because the internet is all reviews, and we'll talk all about it. It's going to be amazing. We cannot wait for this show to start. It's going to start late February, early March. We'll have a date for you, but get ready for it. We cannot wait. That said, Jimmy, I think I want to hear the names of the people who would never, ever, ever make fun of our underdeveloped shoulders or toss us over a hotel desk and through a plate glass window. Jimmy, hit me with them now.
This week's executive producers are Patrick Winnick. Attaboy, Patrick. He saved his money from OnlyFans. Not that he earns it there, but he doesn't spend it there. Instead, he spends it on us. That was nice of you, Patrick.
Thank you. His balls are swollen, though. That's the only problem. His balls are swelled so they're going to pop.
And, of course, Jordan Bennett. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
for
Jordan.
everything
Her
you
balls
do.
also swollen right up.
Other producers this week are Hannah Escalderon, Stan the Lariat Hansen, Rabbi Shmulovich, and Shitta Perlman's anniversary. Congratulations.
Oh, congrats. Wow.
Who is Stan the Lariat? Is he
Already?
a wrestler? He's a wrestler,
Oh, yeah.
right?
He's a wrestler, former AWA champion.
Also, Regina Bryholtz, Colin Alexander, Aistay Bearcat. I don't know what that is. It's it's a foreign name. It's got weird character. I can't.
Oh, cool.
Aistay Bearcat.
Thank you.
Is their name.
Thanks, Bearcat.
From an American. Happy Hour checking in Wright, Wyoming. Janice Hill, Finn Jeremy, Tracy Smith, Carmen. Okay. Yeah, Carmen Insider is what they wrote, and they said to say it in an Australian accent, and I will not say Carmen Insider. I won't say it.
Yeah.
Hannah Quinn, Anna Pup Kanyoki, Daphne with no last name, Chris DeMuth, Brock Pelton, Maribeth Payne, Sonia Bancroft, Lauren Borowski, Craig Meyer, Brandon Manson, Star Solinsky, Victoria Ring, Morgan Lewis, Don Doherty, Ink and Roll. Yeah, that's right. Chris McDaniel, Dylan Beaupre, Lyman, Morgan Everett, Catherine Fry, Larry Lonergan. It's probably Lonergan, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Valerie Thompson, Barbara Butler, Ashley Garback, Rebecca Davis, Jem Whepp, Katie Patterson, it's only one T, it could be Paterson, Tracy Wood, Chelsea Hatler, Dugan Racecraft, Kristen Ward, Kay Kellum, Catherine Davis, Amira Ahmed, Robert Klein. Is that a person?
It's a comedian.
That's right.
Yeah.
Probably
famous.
not that guy. He's dead, right?
Yeah,
He's been
I think
dead.
he died. Or he's alive and doesn't give a shit about us. One of the two.
OG Bobby Johnson, probably not that one, right?
I wouldn't imagine so,
Probably
but maybe.
Matilda, Alicia Haig, Dorothy Brush, Samantha O'Neill, Jared Lyons, James, I see you dick. They do not. I guarantee you do not. Adam Stockman, Nick with no last name. Mary Bittinger, Crystal Sragovitz, C-Back, C-B-E-B-A-C, 2133. I don't know what it is. C, blood alcohol content, 2133. Jamie D'Agostino, Julie Vincent, Carmen Roy, or Wah maybe, Megan Lacey, Sarah Vaughn, Jordan Tolhurst, Johnny fucking Howard, John Bargan, Dina Haslock, Dennis Desquer, oh boy, Desquerliers.
You got that.
That's a French one I'll never get. Monica Guerriero. Guerriero, and on also Monica Morse Guerriero. She signed up twice. Has to be the same person. Face with no last name. Carolyn Hudson, Emily B, Zoe Ream, Cassie Hampton, Paul Lucarati. Lori, Lisa Stevens, Jamie Barton Hodges, Catherine with no last name, Tiffany Rains, Michelle Leatham, Tobias Musabach, Mosbach, HB with no last name, Melissa West, Melody Brown, Diana Fuller, Crystal with no last name, Brendan Lord, Ryan Schultz, Monica with no last name, Ethan Graben, the face of Bo or Bow, maybe, I don't know, Maria Styling,
Face
I
of
think.
Whoever.
Chris Webster, Jason Straub, Millie Kuros, okay, Adam Giordino, Deirdre Duhan, Steve Hoffman, Carrie Reed, Alicia Burns, Olivia Burt, Brett Walker, Luke Hughes, Noah Hoy, Hunter Rudnick, Sam Gosling, Whitney Morton, T. Bird, Whitney with no last name, Trees Are Better, Delaney Spalding, Tom Horn, Melissa Green.
Melissa. Jesus Christ, Jimmy. Pamela and Melissa are going to get together. Good God.
Nick with no last name, Jasmine Mako, Aaron Metzler, Lavana Vo, Jesse K, Keely Weber, all right, Violet Treaster,
Jesus Christ.
Marie Frankie,
People often say, why don't you switch roles sometimes? I'll mispronounce a town name sometimes, but the episodes would be 7 hours long. Who's this now? What's going on?
Oh, Melissa did the killing here. Watch.
Melissa, yeah, it's nice. This is Melissa that's going to do the killing. No.
Corn dog poppers. That sounds disgusting. Mike Mariano. Can you imagine if McDonald's had corn dog poppers?
Corn dog? I don't want a corn dog popper.
Corn dog. It's a hot dog inside a jalapeno wrapped in corn, and then we deep fry it. Comes with large fries. Mike Mariano, Amanda Koblenz, Bethany Sutherland, Gabby the Oil Painter, Matthew Veriberg, Alexander Warrett, Lou with no last name, Ariana Robles, Eric Parsino, I believe that's right, Joshua Schreider, Brandon Kane, Sparky Shearer, David Zabriskie,
Nicely done.
Jory Steinkraus, Daniel Garduno, Guy Swindell, Darcy Death, Andrew Stone, Lori Tambellini, Reggie Van Hayes, Wendy Stark, Daniel Orozco, Aaron Brooks, Allie Peterson, Savannah Taylor, Kimberly Bonner, Stephanie Rudolph, Michael Street, Mariah Robinson, Chastity Sullins, Melissa Nelson, Katie Riley, Nathan Caitlin Allred, Todd Dillon, ST, no last name, Carly Rivers, Garrett Hukill, Michelle O'Hara, Donovan McCart, Sarah with no last name, Matt Ruddy, Michael Schultz, Adams Jewell, Kevin King, Cameron Wilson, Errol.
Errol and Melissa. We're going to get you guys together. That's our goal.
Errol and Melissa.
Marry you off.
Heather Stenkler, Jeremy Case, Hugo Svarsfaver, Christensen, Sjarfjar? What? Nadia. Julia Osborne, Sarah Garbers, Chris Pollard, Chris Littlewolf, Danny Macon. Machan.
Wow.
Rosalie Brown, Randy Hulebeck, all you back. Tiffany Speech, Samantha Castile, Kelly Steele, Shannon K. Farmer, Kiara with no last name, Stray, Maiden Sarah, Kia Johnston. Zane Burney, Beer Grill Guy. In North Carolina, Jared McTavish, The Dark Magician, Danny Knox, Lauren Bird, Jason Guiley, Joe Swanner, Jonah German, Herman maybe, Spencer Nunn, Christian Moisette, Jen with no last name, Zachary Alexander, Amy Lida, Ben Fleming, Corrine Doubt, Carolyn Mans, Zach Martins, Morgan Montgomery, Jamie Pegg, Chelsea Walders, Lord Gecko, and all of our patrons. You're fantastic.
Thank you so much, everybody, from the bottom of our just crusty, tiny, shriveled black hearts. We appreciate all that you do for us, everything that you do. If you want to follow us on social media, very easy to do that. Just like anything else with the show, just head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. You'll find links to everything there, including all the live shows and everything else like that. That said, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our little delve into lady wrestling. We will be back next week, of course, and we'll keep coming back live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.